Okay, so with that, let's move on to our presentation tonight on the 6 critical elements for invention success. So, many new inventors are unaware of what it takes to successfully make a product or a profit from their product. And in fact, it's about less than 5% of products ever make any money for the inventor. But if the proper time is taken to do your homework and you take the time to learn as much as you can on the front end, you have a much better chance of becoming a success. So your odds are so much greater when you can learn from others who have done it and who have had tremendous success. And so our keynote speaker tonight, Marcy McKenna, is a great example of the tenacious dedication, the hard work, and the business savvy, that it takes to get to the top. In 2012, Marcy took a big leap into the commercialization of innovative ideas by becoming the winning inventor on Kelly Ripa's reality TV show called Homemade Millionaire. And this experience fed her passion. And she used this as her launching pad to become one of the most successful product developers today. So Marcy's products have been featured on QVC, on the Home Shopping Network, Oprah, Harper's Bazaar, Better Homes and Gardens, Insta, and the list just goes on and on and on. So we are so honored to have Marcy McKenna share her experience tonight with us and her insights. So Marcy, thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm going to highlight you here and let me get you on here real quick. There we go. There
That's
you are,
a big
Marcy.
picture. Thank you. And thank you all for having me. I was really honored when Laura asked me, and I am a Sun Devil alumni, so it's fun to be back with my fellow Arizona peeps. I was kind of hoping this meeting was going to be in person so I would have an excuse to get out there and go see all my college cronies, but we'll do that next time. So anyway, and thank you for the very nice introduction. And it was great learning about what you guys do inside your group, because I do speak at a lot of different groups. And I have to tell you, I'm really impressed with what you guys do. I love the think tank. I wish that I had had that when I first started out, what I would not have given. I did join an inventors group, but it was not as organized. So I'm listening to this thinking this is fantastic. So I'm even more honored to be here knowing how organized you guys are and the structure that you have to it. So Laura did a great job introducing me, but I just want to give you a little bit more about my background. And then I would love to go into what I view as the 6 most critical elements to finding success with your product. And I do a lot of different presentations. I have a YouTube channel where I put up videos all the time of various subjects related to inventing and marketing your products and finding success with your products. This particular presentation is probably the most near and dear to my heart. I feel very strongly about what I'm going to present to you today. So I kind of have a lot to say. So I think Laura and I talked about we'll probably hold questions to the end if that's okay with everybody. But I do love interaction, and I hope you have a lot of questions, and I look forward to all of that. But if I think there are some people I know on here. So hi, everybody. And for those who I don't know, I just want to let you know that I have been inventing for a career for, as Laura said, since 2012. So actually, it was actually a little bit before that. But I feel like my whole life I have been inventing. I just probably, much like all of you, I have one of those minds that is just constantly, the wheels are always spinning, and I'm always looking for a better way to do something. I can never just enjoy things as they are. I drive my family crazy. But I was born into a family of inventors. In fact, my great grandfather was a big time inventor, and he invented the delay mechanism for the bomb back in, I want to say it was World War I, but now I get them confused all the time. I'm not sure which, World War I or II. So prior to that, when a pilot would drop a bomb on the enemy, he would end up blowing up in the process. And the military, government, everyone was out to all the big corporations trying to solve this problem. And my grandfather ended up solving it using a single bare aspirin in his garage. And when you think about putting an aspirin inside of a cup of water and how long it would take to dissolve, that's how simple the impetus for his final invention was. And so my company, when I created it, is called Simply Solved Innovations, because I was always very inspired by how simple his inventions were. His are much more complex and exciting than mine. Oh, I think mine are exciting, but they're not quite rocket science. And I always like to kind of hang a lantern on that fact because I want to encourage so many people to realize that inventing doesn't mean you have to be Benjamin Franklin or Thomas Edison. It doesn't have to be this, crazy, insane, life-changing thing for you to invent something. It can many times just be a better mousetrap. Maybe there's some product that you love so much, but you just wish it could do this. So, I want everyone to open their minds to how simple inventing it can be. And if you saw all the promotion that was done leading up to tonight, and you saw that I was going to be talking about the 6 critical elements to product success, I was worried that you might be coming here thinking, oh, she's going to give us a blueprint for inventing a product, because I have this great idea, and I'm sure you do. And many of you, I'm sure, are already, knee deep bringing that product to life. And many of you probably already have done that. So I know there's people kind of all over the board. But my presentation tonight is not at all about a blueprint for taking an idea and turning it into a product on the store shelf. I believe that you can find that anywhere. You can, with a Google search bar, with all of the amazing coaches that are out there, with inventor groups like this one, people are talking about teaching you, writing articles about uploading videos about things like patenting and prototyping and licensing and all of those things, the mechanics of inventing. And all of those things are extremely important. But in my view, those things really make up about 20% of the bigger picture. And some inventors just do it for the love of inventing, and being successful with their invention isn't important to, they don't care whether it makes them money or becomes a well-known brand or a well-known product. I think more of us actually do want to find success with our products. And during the pandemic, when things slowed down a bit in my life, I do have a product line on HSN, and that they're headquartered in Florida. I live in Southern California. So every time I would go on air, which was quite a bit, I would be flying back and forth. And so that took a lot of time for me. And I was very, very busy. And with the pandemic, we stopped going in studio to go live with our products. We still do go live, but we do it in our offices and our homes. And so things did slow down a lot in that way. And I thought, I had always told myself if I found success inventing, that I wanted to find a way to give back and to help other inventors find a more direct path to invention success than I had. Because I was one of those that, although my great-grandfather was a big inventor, I personally did not know anything about inventing other than the way my mind worked. And when I decided that I was going to bring a product to life, I didn't want to tell anybody about it. I was afraid someone was going to steal the idea. So I, really guarded it. And I did meet with some of those, I guess you call them invention promotion submission companies. And I had heard so many horror stories about them that I met with them in a very guarded way and ultimately decided it wasn't for me. And I just kind of made the decision that I was going to figure this thing out on my own. And so there was a lot of trial and error. There was many, many obstacles, and there still is many, many obstacles along the way. And so my path to finally finding success with a product was not that direct. And so I thought there's got to be a way for me to, at some point, give back and share everything that I learned during my journey. So when I learned during the pandemic, Laura referenced the statistic that only 5% of inventors ever make any money with their product. That was staggering to me. And I think it's probably a statistic that most of you already know. And I couldn't believe that I didn't know that. I'm not sure that I would have gotten into this business if I knew that. So it was so staggering to me that I had to know why. Because when the pandemic started, I kind of took stock of what I have done since I won Homemade Millionaire with Kelly Ripa way back when. And I had launched 30 products commercially into big box retail and home shopping and e-commerce. And my products had been on television and in all kinds of publications. And I'm so glad I didn't know that 5% statistic, because I wonder just mentally what that would have done to me during my journey. In my mind, I had to be successful with it. If I'm going to do this, I've got to be successful with it. And I had some very burning reasons inside of me, which we won't have time to go into tonight, but for why I needed those to be successful. I did not have a plan B. Like, this was come hell or high water. I've got to get one of these products to make some money for our family. So in looking at that statistic, I wanted to do a real deep dive to understand why it's so low. And I did that, and I continue to do that. And I feel that I have a really clear picture about that. And as I said, 20% is the mechanics of inventing, and you guys will all figure that out. I don't need to teach you that. And there's a lot of research that shows that almost anything that we ever do, 20% is about the mechanics, and 80% is more intangible things. And those are things that you can't necessarily find on a Google search bar. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And what I realized when I was thinking about why I have had success in bringing my products to market, and then I'm going online and I'm reading articles and I'm hearing people speak, and I'm thinking, nobody's talking about these things that I think need to happen, that's my well-oiled machine. Why is nobody talking about these things? Because this is what's really important in my eyes. So let's go ahead with that and get started, because I have a lot to say. And I struggle with what order to put them in, because every one of these 6 are so important to me. But I am going to start with something that actually Laura spoke about briefly, and that is product validation. To me, validating a product or a product idea is arguably the single most important step in bringing a product to life. And yet, I am so amazed and so blown away at how few inventors take the time to do it. And I believe that most inventors will say they did it, and they may believe they did it, but did they go to the depth that you need to go to really know whether you can have success with your product? And I have, again, sort of a well-oiled machine that I developed for myself that works very well. And for me, it's sort of a 5-step formula. And I'll go through it very, surface, but I will tell you that I have a video on my YouTube channel that's called something along the lines of how to validate a product. And I would really encourage you to watch that, because I walk through the steps in much more depth than I'm going to be able to get to tonight. I also created a PDF to go along with that video that you guys can download for free, and it's right there with that video. And it's sort of a workbook of sorts that kind of you can work through it to actually validate your product idea. Now, I'm sure some of you are thinking, okay, well, that's not for me, because I'm already well on my way and I'm doing this, and it's too late for me to validate my product. What I want to say about that is, when I talk about product validation, yes, I mean validating an idea before you spend loads of money and loads of time and blood, sweat, and tears on something. Yes, you want to know ahead of time, even though it's scary to find out because you love your idea so much, but you do want to know if it's actually going to make money for you and if it's all going to be worth it. And there are ways that, is anything guaranteed? Of course not. But there are ways for you to be really pretty darn close to sure, one way or the other, if you're going to be able to be successful. And so I'm going to walk through those in just a second. But what I want to say is that I see product validation as something that is woven throughout the entire product life cycle, from the minute you have a product idea until it's on the store shelf and beyond. And I know there's not many store shelves these days. When I say that, I mean more, nowadays it's e-commerce. But there are so many levels of product validation. And if we want to have success with our products, it's important to validate every step of the way. So what do I mean by that? I mean, validating your price point, finding out what they will spend, doing A/B testing with different price points to see what that sweet spot is. That's a form of validation. Validating your brand messaging when you're getting ready to launch, or maybe you already are launched and you're just kind of chugging along. It's not uber successful. You're not failing, but it's not super successful. Validating that through some of the steps that I'm going to talk about. Advertising, packaging. There's so many things that should be validated along the way. And if you're doing that, your odds of success are going to go up exponentially. And again, it's not rocket science, but it's just something that I think as inventors, we are afraid of it. In fact, one of the women in my Women Inventors Club, which I should have mentioned, I'll talk about all that kind of stuff at the end. But she said that today she had watched my product validation video, and she said, "I'm so glad I watched it. I was so afraid to do that step. And now I realize how manageable it is and how important it is." And so that was kind of interesting that I read that literally right before I got on here. So just from a high level perspective, the process that I go through is, number one, I personally, and this won't be for everybody, but I make myself go through, whenever I have a new product idea, I go through a 48-hour waiting period, self-imposed, actually maybe husband imposed, because I do have so many ideas and I'm so passionate. When I come up with one, I think it is just going to be the biggest hit ever known to man. And I just go down this rabbit hole online searching, and then a week later, all of a sudden, I'll realize how much time and energy I spent on it. And it'll become clear that it was so not a good idea. And it was so never going to be successful because my passion gets the best of me. So I do have an agreement with my husband that I will wait. When I come up with an idea, I write it down and then I let it go. And if I absolutely can't get it out of my mind after 48 hours, then I dive into the next steps. And the next step for me is a sort of a checklist of sorts, a product success checklist. And I really look at 5 different things, and they're very simple. And so I think you'll see as we go through this that it gets deeper and deeper and a little bit more complex with each step. But the product success checklist for me is, does it have mass market appeal? And that's, very fundamental sort of, but, a lot of people will say that the riches are in the niches. And I completely understand that, and do believe that to some degree. For me personally, because I am in the home shopping world, it really is about mass appeal. And so many people will come to me with their products and say, will you help me get this onto HSN or QVC? And I'll look at it and it's so nichey that even though it's a great idea, they're never going to put it on because they're not going to give airtime to something that this segment of the market is going to look at. So, I don't want to say you can never do something in a niche segment, but your chance of success obviously is going to be much greater if the masses have the problem that you're solving. So for me, that's a really important one. The other thing that's important to me is, and this one is a bit controversial. People feel differently than I do on this, but for me, it's really important that my product falls within a category that is already successful, or a category that I'm seeing having an upward trajectory. Many people, inventors specifically, want to come up with something completely new that no one's ever heard of, that's just so groundbreaking. And that is very aspirational and exciting. And I love that from a passion standpoint. what I find, or what I have found, is that when you do that and you're creating a new category and you're teaching people about a problem that they maybe didn't know they had, then you got to teach them about a solution to a problem they didn't know they had. And it can be this big uphill battle that can be pretty difficult to succeed in. And so really take a look at your category and do a deep dive to find out whether it's a category that is doing this, doing this, doing that. What is it doing? And is it worth creating a product within that category? There is a tool that I recently learned about, and maybe you already all know about it, but I was at an Amazon conference. I recently became a Amazon influencer. And so that's a really fun thing for me because I get to tout other people's products instead of my own. On HSN, it's always my products. So on Amazon, I get to go live and present other people's products. So that's really fun. Little side tangent there. But at this Amazon conference, I learned about a tool, an online tool called Helium 10. Not sure if any of you have ever heard of that or are using it, but it was originally designed as a tool for Amazon sellers to sort of research the market and help them fine tune their, make their listings really great, research the competition, and all the things in that world. The second I saw it at this conference, I was like immediately sort of outside the box. I'm thinking this is the greatest product validation tool of all time. Every inventor needs to have access to this tool because you can go into Amazon and I almost feel guilty when I'm using it because you feel you're sort of like a detective where you can get everybody's information. You can find out exactly how many of their products they sold today, last month, last year, what months were their hot months, what months weren't, what keywords did they use for people to search for their product, which ones are the ones that are being searched the most. So think about that. Think how brilliant that is for us inventors that we can go into Amazon using this tool. And if we come up with a product idea before we put pen to paper or go into our bank accounts for money or anything like that, we can learn all about the category and how it's doing and are people buying it. And if they are, what we can find out exactly what terms they're searching to find products like that. There's just a wealth of information. You can even find out to a relative certainty what your product is going to cost to produce. You can find manufacturers for your product, which I know really stumps a lot of inventors trying to find a good manufacturer. So I wanted to mention that just because I just think it's a phenomenal tool on so many levels. And the more I get into it, the more I realize I can do with it. And I actually did create a video and a PDF again recently for the 5 tools that I love the most. And that's got to be one of the ones at the top. And I'm probably going to reference a couple other ones also.
Actually, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but can you say the name of that tool again?
Sure. And is there, I was just thinking, well, yeah, it's Helium, HELIUM 10. So 10.
Thank you.
And they do, in the PDF, I have links to all of these tools that I'll probably reference at one point or another that I've gotten, like free trials and things like that for the inventor community. So you can use that and get a little extra if you want, or just go straight to the website and check it out. I want to mention a couple other tools while we're on this that I really love when it comes to product validation. And one of them, I'm sure many of you, most of you have heard of, is SurveyMonkey. I'm a big believer in surveys because asking your friends and family if they would buy it and do they like it is kind of pointless. I really believe because your friends and family love you and they don't want to maybe always tell you the truth, and you don't know whether you're hearing the truth or not hearing the truth. But with an anonymous survey, you will get the information you need, and it's so valuable. And they have a something that's called SurveyMonkey Audience that is really fabulous for product validation all the way through your product development lifecycle, because you can find out You can use it to find out which features are most important on a given product that's going to solve this problem. So as you're fine tuning your design, to be able to just constantly be putting surveys out there to make sure you're on the right path with things is really valuable. You can validate your packaging, things that I talked about before, branding, pricing, all of these different things, to have the ability to send a survey out to a very targeted market is really valuable, because you can really fine tune who that goes to, and it can be global. It can be, it can just be local in your city. If what you're creating is just for, happens to be just for people in your town, great. But there's a lot of flexibility with it, and it's incredibly, incredibly helpful for product validation. There's also one more tool I'm going to mention, and again, a lot of this stuff is in PDFs and all of my videos. But one other tool that I recently started using is called Answer the Public, answerthepublic.com. And I found that most people don't know of that, but yet, oh my God, another wealth of information. It is, and I believe it's completely free. I've never paid for it yet, but I'm sure there are levels where you can pay for it. But what it really is at its core is sort of they take search queries that we all ask using the Google search bar, and they analyze all of that, and they basically put it into a visual diagram of sorts, so that you can go in, whatever it is you happen to be creating. I used it just a couple days ago with my husband, who he's a screenwriter, and he's getting ready to launch a podcast, and he was trying to think of what he wants all his different episodes to be. So I said, well, let's go to Answer the Public, and we go on there, and you type in screenwriting, and it shows you all the different searches that people make for screenwriting, and it ranks them by the ones that are the highest, and what exactly are they asking. And it was really fascinating, actually, to find out what's most important to them. So think about that in terms of your invention, that you can take that invention, whatever category, whatever niche that falls within, and find out what problems people are trying to solve, what questions they have within that niche. Let's say you have a pet product, a dog product. You type in dogs, and you'll see, they break it down to the hows, the whats, the, I can't think right now, but like you could look at how, and then how to train a dog, how to feed a dog so they live longer, how to, so you'll see it all ranked. And so not only does that help you design your product, because you're seeing what's important to people, but then when you're ready to launch your product, in terms of marketing, it's just priceless, because you know what they're asking, and you create your marketing materials to answer exactly that. So another just really valuable tool. And again, I have so much to talk about that I'm going to keep going. I was talking about my checklist. So the other things on my checklist, other than I was saying, make sure it falls within a successful category. The next thing that is really important, I think a lot of people know it, but I also see a lot of people overlook it. And that is, does your product have a wow factor? So important. And so many people think of that in terms of an infomercial, and it's cheesy, but in today's world, the world we are living in, it's all visual. It's all online, and it's all about stopping the scroll. What is going to make somebody want to look at your social media post closely over another one? It used to be important to me because of home shopping. I always had to think about what that visual is going to look like. What is that demonstration? What is that before and after? But it's no longer just in the home shopping world. It's everywhere. And if you're thinking of licensing your product, you better believe that people that are wanting to or looking to license your product are thinking about that. And so if you can keep that in mind as you're designing, your product idea may not be a wow kind of a product, but if you know that that's going to be crucial to its success, there's always a way to design a wow into a product. I mean, maybe it's the color, maybe it's, it can be as simple as that. But maybe there's a feature that you can add that when you think about seeing it on a screen, you realize how fascinating that would be for someone. And that's that add to cart moment or that stop the scroll moment. So think about that as you're designing. And if it doesn't have a wow factor, maybe that's not a product if you want it to be successful, maybe that's not the one. Maybe it's time to develop another product that would have a little bit more of a wow to it. And then the final thing is margin potential. And Laura alluded to this earlier. Great call on that one. My rule of thumb with margin, so when I'm thinking of my checklist, is always it's got to have at least 5 times. Many people sort of the typical rule of thumb, I think, is 4 times the cost of goods. What I have found is that you just don't know what you don't know, and you can't plan for the unexpected. And I'm going to give you a couple examples of that. One is in the home shopping world, and HSN specifically, we have something that's called a today's special. And that is kind of the holy grail. When you go on HSN, your dream is to get a today's special because your product is on air and you're on air. It gets a little tiring, but for 24 hours. And they order a whole boatload, no pun intended, of product. And but every today's special has to have some kind of value to it. So if I design a really successful product, and they come to me and they say, Marcy, we want to do a today's special. And I can't get to that price point because I didn't do that 5 times markup, then I've missed out on an enormous opportunity because not only could I have sold $2 million worth of product in 24 hours, but think about that brand exposure, brand awareness that I built within those 24 hours. Millions and millions of households would have seen my product. But if I didn't have that margin, and I talk to inventors all the time who are in Target and Bed Bath & Beyond, and they hammer you down. They always want a better deal. They always want to offer 20% off and 30% off. And they don't eat that. For most of the time, you're the one that's eating it. So you need to be planning for those things. The other thing that nobody could have foreseen was the shipping issues that we're having today and the amount of money that it costs right now to, whether you're trucking it across the country or shipping it from China here, it's astronomical. My containers used to cost about $3,000. They're now $25,000. And so think about the amount of products that's inside of that shipping container, and you're just amortizing that 25,000 across those products. So a very real world example is HSN had given the green light to 8 of my products for Q4 holiday gifting. And we had to pull back 6 of them. So we had gone into full overload to bring these products in, and the numbers just don't work anymore because the retail price point that we would have to charge would be so astronomical that no one would buy it. So we went from 8 products down to 2 products, new products. So that's the reality. And I just wanted to make sure you guys all know that because I certainly didn't know that. I was thinking, I could just double the cost of goods and I'm good. But there's so many things that have to be built into that. So super, super important. Because I have a lot to talk about, I'm going to move on from product validation and just say the other steps are in that video. And I do have a slide that I can show you at the end that's got how to get to all my videos and PDFs and things like that. So I'll share that with you then. But the next thing I want to talk about is mindset and motivation as one of the most critical factors in having success with your product. And I think a lot of people think that's hogwash and psychobabble and all of that. But I want to tell you, I had so many ideas in my lifetime of great products. I have a white binder. I always talk about my white binder and it's never with me when I'm talking about it, but it's very thick nowadays with all of my product ideas. And it was not until I understood the true meaning of why you do something, that I found success with a product. And I could do a whole entire meeting on that, because what I just want to say is I really hope that all of you take the time to really think about why you're creating the product you're creating. And maybe it's one of those products that's going to save somebody's life and you're so passionate about it for that reason. Maybe you're someone who is so in debt up to your eyeballs and credit card mayhem that this is your last, you're counting on this invention to pull you out of that. Maybe there's somebody that has been putting you down your whole life and not believing in you and just saying you could never do it. And that's your why. I just would challenge you to go as deep as you can with that, to understand. I think a lot of people just kind of want to say, why am I creating this invention? Because I want to make money. And that's so simple and so surface. And I just want to say that's not enough. That's not enough to get you to do the things that you need to do to follow through on this product idea and actually bring it to life, because there are going to be so many obstacles along the way. There are going to be so many things that you run into that you didn't expect and didn't know about. So many people that doubt you, so many people that you can't get a meeting with them, and you can't get in the door at this place that you just know your product would sell so well. And if you know your why, and if it bleeds inside you, and if you write that down, or you type it in your computer and you print it out and you put it on the wall, and you write, I like to write mine down frequently to remind myself of what that is. Because that is the thing for me, when I understood my why, that's the thing that got me up. I say an hour, many times 2 hours earlier, 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, to do what I needed to do so I could have quiet time at the house. That's the thing that when the manufacturer said it couldn't be done at that price point, that made me say, why not? Yes, it can. Let's make it work. Let's figure out how to fix it and change it. And it's so easy as an inventor, when these obstacles come up, to just go, I knew it wasn't going to happen, and walk away. I know, because I did it over and over again. I started inventions and then I didn't keep going. When I knew what my why was, there was no longer a plan B. And so it was one foot in front of the other every single day until I did it. And today I started with one why. I now have 3 whys. So I still can continue to see that as something that's so important. And the women inside my Women Inventors Club know that I'm a big quote junkie. I love motivational quotes, inspiring quotes, and I put them up inside of our group every week, because I just think that we need that to keep going, because it is so easy to get off track. So many reasons to just, veer off, and then maybe a few months later you'll come back, but it's just really key. And when I think of the people that succeeded, when I think of Sarah Blakely, she's one of my idols, who just sold the majority stake in her company, which was valued. She started with $5,000 and it was valued at $1.2 billion. She's someone that had a why, and she was not going to take no for an answer. And she thought so outside of the box and did things that you wouldn't believe to make it happen. And that's why she's my inspiration, because that's what I had to do too. And when I look at success stories, it's always comes down to that mindset and that grit and that determination and that will to make it happen. And so I just want to challenge you guys to dig deep and keep that front of mind as you pursue what you're pursuing. The third critical element, another one I believe so strongly in, and I created a video about this to a degree, and it's called is the word inventor a 4-letter word? And the more I think about it, and the more people I debate about this subject, the more I believe that it is. I love inventors, so it's not the inventor that I think is a 4-letter word. It's that word. I think that word has given us a stigma. It puts a target on our back for people that want to take advantage of us and ask us for thousands and thousands of dollars to do very little and give us very little in return. I think buying teams that are looking at our products when they hear an inventor is coming in, we're not taking that seriously. I could go on, but I would love for you to watch that video because I feel really passionately about it. And so with that, this critical element to me is that I would love for you guys to look at your product, not as an invention, not as a product, but as a business, and to treat it as a business, and to look at yourself. If you want to look at yourself as an inventor, that's great, because that's the hard part that I have, because I love being an inventor and I am one. But when it comes to bringing my products to life and taking meetings with people and getting licensing deals and getting in the door at Home Shopping and convincing my buying team to take on another one of my products, I am absolutely an entrepreneur and not an inventor, because the word entrepreneur says that you know the business that surrounds your product and what you understand the marketplace, the competitive landscape, the what it's going to take for this product to be successful, and that you believe in it and you've done the research and you know that. And it didn't used to be so important. Today, it's really important. And I know this because I've actually interviewed. I deal a lot with DRTV companies. So there's people that are very high up that I deal with. And I've asked them point blank about that. And they said it absolutely makes a huge difference to them when an inventor comes in, like an entrepreneur as opposed to an inventor. Many women, myself included, when I started out, it's, we're stay-at-home moms and oh, will you please meet with us? And, we're not looking at it as a business. And so I'm not just talking about if you're wanting to license your product or get it on television. I'm talking about in the very beginning too, when you're trying to get, maybe there's a company that you need to make a prototype for you. You better believe they have inventors calling them, emailing them every single day, and they have to pick and choose who they work with. And so if they don't think that you're taking your product, your invention seriously and looking at it as a business, they're going to be much less apt to work with you. It's going to be really easy for them to dismiss you. Conversely, if you come in and nowadays, everybody researches everybody before they meet with them or take a call with them. And it's not about the business card anymore. Very few people really even use business cards anymore. It's really about LinkedIn. And that's where everybody goes when they were trying to figure out whether you're someone that's worth meeting with. And so it's really important to have a LinkedIn profile if you don't already. And I just came from the National Hardware Show. I did a presentation there in Las Vegas for the inventor section of the hardware show. And I was on a pitch panel, and afterward, I wanted to promote so many of these cool inventions that I saw. I was so blown away at how many great inventions there were. And so I was doing a LinkedIn post, and I went to tag all of these companies to give them, I wanted to spread the word about their product. And I couldn't believe, probably of the 40 products that I wanted to promote, I think 3 of them had a LinkedIn profile. And I couldn't believe it. And how does somebody get more information on you? How does any company of any size take you seriously if you can't even get a LinkedIn profile? They won't think that you really are taking your product seriously. So I know that technology is so intimidating for people. It is for me too. It still is for me. There are so many tutorials on how to create things like a LinkedIn profile. It's really very simple, and it doesn't have to be anything, groundbreaking, but you do need a presence, and you do need a good picture, and you do need a few words that are written well. But something as simple as that can make a big difference in the eyes of not only a buying team, or a DRTV company or a home shopping company, but people that you're wanting to make a prototype. But even beyond that, many of us need funding, and we need to go get an investor. And investors are not going to shell out money for somebody that has a great idea, but they don't think they have what it takes to actually take this idea and turn it into a real product. So I just want to challenge all of you to wake up in the morning, if you're not already doing it, and kind of put on a new persona, if you're not already, of really, and sometimes we have to fake it till we make it. And sometimes, we don't feel like an entrepreneur. That word is something that's never even crossed our minds. And I get it. But sometimes you do have to do those things if you really want your product to succeed. And so when I think back on that 5% statistic, I can't help but wonder, of those 95% that didn't make it, did they do the things that we've been talking about so far and that I'm going to continue to talk about? And honestly, I don't think they did. And that's why I'm sort of making it my mission to share all of this with as many people as I can, because I strongly believe if you do these things, and again, they're not rocket science, they're all doable and they're fun. When you get into it, product validation is fun. And the mindset and motivation and quotes and, all those things are fun. The other thing I want to say, that I should have said back up at mindset and motivation, is I loved hearing Laura talk. And when I said how much I love the think tank, part of that mindset and motivation is it is so crucial to have a community and to have connection as you're inventing your product, because inventing can be a really lonely profession. You're in your office, in your house, wherever you are, by yourself most of the time. And when you're by yourself, it's so easy to give up and so easy to walk away and so easy to go on tangents left and right. But when you have a community, and there's studies around this as well, of the number of how important community and connection is in achieving anything. And so if you're not already a part of this Inventors Association of Arizona, I would encourage you to be a part of it, because that's a really crucial thing. And that's why I run the Women Inventors Club, is because I want to have a community for women to feel a part of, that they can feel comfortable in, and that we hold each other accountable and we support each other and we celebrate success together and we help each other through challenges together. And when you feel accountable to other people, it's amazing how you will actually get things done. It just takes what you're doing to a whole nother level, and it's really crucial. So now back to the entrepreneur piece of it. Or actually, I can move on to the next one, because these kind of segue into each other. So I mentioned the LinkedIn profile, but I also would encourage you, if you don't already, you need a website, and it could be even just a landing page. But again, they're so simple. The tools that we have available today make things so easy, and most of them are free. And so again, I've got all those tools and links to them all. But my right hand product, right up there with Helium-10, is something called Canva. And if you don't already know of it, I'm guessing a lot of you do, it's a must. It's Canva, and it is an online graphic design tool. And if you don't already have it, as soon as you get it and as soon as you start using it, within minutes, you will look like a professional graphic designer, and you can create the most beautiful posts and the most beautiful website, and you won't believe what you are capable of when you have Canva. It is definitely graphic design for dummies, and it's fabulous. It really is. And it was created by a woman. She's going to make a lot of money someday when she sells that puppy, I'll tell you. Okay, and so on that note, actually, my next critical element is, we talked about building your business, create the web page, get your LinkedIn profile up there. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I also believe that it's really important to create a business plan. And I was so scared of doing that. It seemed so daunting, but it doesn't have to be. It could be a one-page business plan. and I have a template for that I can give you guys as well that I use. You need that to, number one, be able to see the big picture of what you're creating. And it gives you that map that you need to go from the cocktail napkin or the idea in your head all the way through. And I like doing my business plan on a single page because it's something that I can actually put up and look at every day and know that I'm heading in the right way, in the right direction, and know where my strengths are and where my weaknesses are, what resources that I need to be able to be successful that I don't already have. Um, so that could be a whole nother session, but I do believe strongly in having a business plan from the beginning. And the next one is building a team, building your team. And I can imagine, most of you guys are saying, a team, I'm just myself and I just have this idea. Like, I'm not, no, Marcy, I don't want this whole big company. And that's not what I mean at all. What I mean is, and again, and there's never been a better time to be an inventor. There's so many resources for us, but I'm talking about an outsourced team. I use Fiverr and Upwork. I use them both, but it took me a long time to finally do that. And once I did, I could just kick myself that I didn't do it in the beginning. And so what I mean by that is, in Fiverr, if you're not familiar with it, it's essentially a big database of freelancers that do everything you can imagine, from building a website to, oh my gosh, I'm not going to think of it all right now, but even editing a video, um, running your social media, all the little things. And some of them, I mean, there's different levels of the freelancers. Some things cost, I mean, I'll hire someone in a minute, like just today, to proofread something that I'm getting ready to post for $5. And that $5 is so well spent. I could put that out of my mind because I know that they're doing it. And it took something off of my plate so that I could do what I'm good at. And I'm not good at proofreading. So think about what your strengths and weaknesses are and build a team. And sometimes it was hard for me to build that team because you do have to weed through a lot of, sometimes they're not that great. And so there's a lot of tips to finding really good freelancers on Fiverr and Upwork, but it will lighten your load so exponentially and for such little money. It's so worth doing. And that also goes to that same point about, it's amazing when you're accountable to somebody how you get stuff done. So when I have a freelancer who's going to edit my video, I better have a video for them to edit. So it just lights a little fire under me to get that video done because he's waiting for it to edit it. And it just kind of changes the game. It has me standing a little taller. It has me waking up a little earlier. I just drive forward when I know there's people that that I'm accountable to. So if you just hire one person, that would be amazing. If you're not working with anybody right now, think of your greatest weakness. Think of the challenge, the thing that stumps you the most, that you just think, oh, how am I ever going to figure that out? And trust me, there's somebody on Fiverr that can do that for you like that for not a lot of money. So try it out with just one little task. And if it feels good and it works, then keep going with it and build that team. Because that connection, that community, that interaction is so important with keeping you on task and on track to make it happen. The fifth critical element, this again is one that probably should be up there near the top, and that is understanding the power and the importance of marketing. And this is probably the thing, when I did my deep dive to understand why so few people are having success, this was the one to me that was so glaring. How few inventors think about marketing. They think about it, but usually it's very much an afterthought, or it's something that happens once the product is ready to launch. Or they're thinking, I'm going to license this. I'm not going to bring this to market myself. So why do I have to worry about marketing? That's the whole point of licensing, because someone else is going to do all that. But if you integrate marketing from the very beginning, that is going to help you design the best possible product for a lot of the reasons that I mentioned earlier. The very first part of marketing when it comes to inventing, in my eyes, is figuring out exactly who your client, your customer, your target market is. Knowing that person inside and out. Is it a female? Is it a male? How old is he or she? What keeps them up at night? Where do they live? How much money do they make? Where do they hang out social media wise? Are they more like, for me, my target market is mostly the home shopping world, and it's women that are a little bit older. They're much more apt to be on Facebook than they are on Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat. So that allows me to really, as I'm developing products, think about the Facebook world, think about what that brand messaging would be like, which is very different than it would be if I was marketing to TikTok. So I go so far as to create a profile of my target customer, and I go online and I look for a picture of what I think she looks like. And I write out all the different things about her, and she's on my wall. And it really helps me, not only, as I said, designing the product, but designing everything around the product, from packaging to my brand messaging to all of that. And the reason that that is equally as important if you're licensing the product or manufacturing the product yourself is because, once again, the person that you're going to go meet with, that you want to license your product, if you go in there with complete understanding of the marketing around this product that's going to make it successful. And to take it a step further, if you go in there and you have a website designed for this product and a video designed for this product, they're going to be able to get it so much faster, and they're going to see the potential of it so much faster. And your licensing deal is going to be so much stronger than if you just go in with just a product and just do your pitch. I mean, it's night and day. And ask any buying team, any company that's looking at innovation, and someone that comes in with a very clear understanding of the marketing piece of it, it makes a huge impact. And it really, I mean, you're helping them do their job, because they're needing every product they look at. They got to think about the marketing piece of it, because it's not going to be successful for them without that. So super, super important. I'm trying to think if there's anything specific. There's a couple different sites that I want to point to that I really think it's never too early to build your tribe for your product, to build awareness for the problem that you're solving, and to build excitement for the solution that you're getting ready to provide. The lead times on magazines, publications, online gift guides, things like that, they're so long. Most people don't realize that. They think that, oh, it's when I'm ready to launch, then I'll reach out to the media. And with my first product, the Style and Go Hair Care Ballet, I started posting on Pinterest, and I barely knew what Pinterest was at the time, really early on. And by the time I launched my product, I had 8,000 people on a waiting list, like really targeted people that wanted this product, because I started so early and they got so excited about it. And I brought them into my process when I was developing it and showed when the sample came. And so they felt like they were part of it. So I encourage that. And I am such a believer in Facebook groups for product development and for connecting with your customer. There's a million HSN junkie Facebook groups, women that just live and die by home shopping. And so I've started becoming a member, and I introduce myself and I tell them exactly who I am and that I create products for them. And so I will host little online things, almost like focus groups, where I did one the other night where I had about 20 women from one of the one of the Facebook groups, and I showed them 6 products that I was in development on. And I asked them, which color, which material? Do you like the silver accent or the gold accent? Which feature is most important to you about this? how much would you spend for it? And then when I was done presenting all the products, which one of these can you not live without? And which one you wouldn't buy no matter what, no matter how inexpensive it was. The feedback and the information I got from that 1 hour of time was so priceless. I cannot even tell you. Because now, not only did it help me make some decisions about where I'm going with these products, but I just went to my buying team and said, I just did a focus group with some of your biggest HSN fans and showed them these, and they went crazy for this one. You've got to move forward with this one. My buyers love that because it takes the guesswork out of it for them. When you think of buyers, it's a really scary job because they don't want to make a mistake. And in home shopping in particular, when buyers make mistakes, their jobs don't last very long. And so they know that. So whatever you can do to help them do their job better, they appreciate. They don't look at it as that you're overstepping your boundaries and you're acting like a know-it-all. They're like, thank God that someone's coming in here knowing, helping me make the right decision. Because it's, for a lot of them, it's kind of a crapshoot making decisions. So if you can bring, real world data and market research to them from your marketing efforts, that can be very powerful and can really help you a lot. And then moving on to the sixth one, and I'm sorry I'm going on so long. I hope we still have time for questions. But the last one, and I'll make this one very quick, is it's goal setting. Goal setting and mapping. So not just setting a goal, but having a very clear path to achieving the goal. And I have a process that I do. I know you're shocked because I have lots of processes and lots of systems, but mine. So I turn this into a PDF also, and I call it my project success planner. And all of this is free, by the way. I don't want you to think I'm selling you anything. I'm not. But my women inventors find this really, really helpful. And when I say that this step is goal setting and mapping, and why this is important to me is, I think we all know, you've heard the statistic about people that write down their goals are 3 times more likely to achieve them. If that's all you did was write it down, this takes it to the next level. And so there's a whole video on it and the planner to go with it. But the one thing I want to say right here is the game changer for me with goal setting was when I finally had a light bulb moment about setting a goal as if it already happened and being very specific with it and adding visualization to that. So what do I mean by that? When I created my first product, the Style and Go Hair Care Ballet, I said, I am an award-winning inventor of the Style and Go Hair Care Ballet that's the best-selling product on HSN and has been featured on television and in magazines like InStyle, Better Homes and Gardens, Harper's Bazaar, and I can't remember them all. But I took that goal to the next level and surrounded it with all the things that would make me feel like, yes, I did it the way that I really, I dream big and put all those elements in it. And then don't say, my goal is to someday launch this product, because that leaves that door open for not doing it. When you say it as if it already happened, there's just something about that propels you to make it happen. And so doing that, and again, writing it down, I know it's old fashioned these days. Everyone does everything on the computer, but there's something to me about pen and paper that makes all the difference. It seems like things I put in my phone and on the computer, it's like Monopoly money. It doesn't end up happening. But when I write it down, it happens. And so that's the first part of it, is taking time to think of that. The second part of it is doing a brain dump. So let's say that was my goal, which it was. Then I took time to do what I call a brain dump. And this for me is so much fun, where I get several pieces of paper and I write down in no special order I just allow my brain to open up as wide as it can and write down every single little teeny tiny big medium size thing that needs to happen from this moment right now when I set this goal until that goal that I just set comes to life. Every single little thing. And don't worry about when you're going to get it done or how you're going to get it done, but just write those things down. And then from there, you take that brain dump, however many pieces of paper it is, and you circle the four. For me, I do four, the biggest milestones to achieving that. And then, in that project success planner, there's a whole sort of template of a timeline that allows you to plug every one of those things in somewhere, where when you're all done with it, everything is chunked down into a very specific order that you can follow. And now you have a timeline and all the things that need to happen to get you from point A to that goal that you said is going to happen and that will happen if you do that and if you follow through on all of these things that we've been talking about tonight. So I know it was a lot, and I thought about I could probably do a whole meeting on each one of those steps. So I apologize for opening the fire hose, but I feel, as you can probably tell, really passionately about all of them. So I can't pick my babies. I had to share them all with you. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Marcy.
You're
At
welcome.
this point, I'm going to actually take you off of Spotlight, although I love seeing you are beautiful. You go off the screen beautifully too. And if you all want to go to the gallery view, so we can see everybody. And Marcy, I had a couple of questions too.
Yeah.
While people are putting these in the chat, and Peter, if you will monitor the chat, thank you very much. One of the things, as I was listening to you, when you mentioned, you have to look at your cost of goods, and that your kind of your goal is to have like 4 to 5 times, that. So how would somebody go about figuring out what their cost of goods is?
Well, that when I spoke about helium-10, that was one thing, because I know that's always a challenge, trying to figure, like, how can you figure that out until you actually make the product. By how I've done it in the past is really by finding manufacturers and or sourcing agents that create products in that same arena. You're not going to find someone that's already done exactly that. And so you're probably not going to find out at that point when I spoke about, during that product validation stage, are you going to find out precisely what that number is? Probably not. But you can get very close. And then if you've done your job with the Survey Monkey and understanding what that sweet spot is for a product like that, then you can put those two together and realize, okay, is this going to be viable? Is this worth me diving into or not? And if you're relatively close, then yeah, assuming everything else makes sense. But if you're looking at, I had a one-on-one consultation the other day with one of my women inventors, and it was really heartbreaking for me to see. She had gone so far down the process, and the prototypes had arrived and they were getting ready to go into production. And I started asking her those questions about the cost and the retail, and my heart broke because she was so deep into it. And as she's telling me, she thought, I know I'm going to forget the exact numbers, but let's say it was $10 her cost, she was going to have it retail at $16. And this was $10 before it left China. It's going to be more than 16 just to get it here right now. So just telling someone at that point, after they've spent so much time and so much money, I just, that makes me more passionate about speaking because I just want everyone to know the importance of those having those round numbers in the beginning so you don't go all the way down. So doing those surveys about what this solution will sell for, and then using something like helium-10. And again, helium-10 has a 30-day trial. So you can go in there and poke around and get that information. You know, you can find out roughly what it costs. You can find out what the fees would be for you to sell it on Amazon if that happens to be where you're wanting to sell your product. So you can really break all that down pretty clearly with the tools that are out there right now.
Thank you. And you say you want to have maybe 4 to 5 times a margin of 4 to 5 times your cost of goods,
Yeah.
correct? And
Yeah.
and I think your point is really well taken. Of there's always the unforeseen, like
Always.
the shipping that we're right now.
Yeah.
Who could have predicted that? So that is just that point just drove it home for me. I just thought, my goodness,
Yes.
4 to 5 times is a minimum of what you should project, I think.
Well, and my one of my most popular products is this one right here, my beauty case. And I mean, the margin that what I used to make per case to what I'm making today per case is, I mean, it's so little. Fortunately, it's still in the black, but barely. And if I hadn't done that 5 times, the product would be done for sure. And so thank goodness I have that built in there to be able to keep it alive during these, uncertain times.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We have actually a question. Joan Brennan, I'm going to ask you to unmute to ask your question to Marcy.
Okay, Marcy, thank you for that, Laura. Marcy, thank you for everything tonight. This is wonderful. I am one of the board members of the Inventors Association of St. Louis.
Oh,
and I would, yes, awesome organization. Marcy, could you tell us how you are currently managing the shipping issues, we'll call them, experienced by small businesses of inventors and others? Is there a preferred shipping provider that's a solution? Is there something else? Are you just eating it? What can you say about that?
Well, pretty much eating it, to be honest, and making some hard decisions which is why you're hearing all over the news, do your Christmas shopping early. It's not just anymore that because everything's stuck on the boats. What it is companies, inventors, people are looking at the margins going, I can't bring that over. I'm going to be underwater. It doesn't make sense for me to bring that over. So they're abandoning products, which is what I did with 6 of my 8 products that I was moving forward on. Is it's just making those hard decisions until we get through this really awful time, unfortunately. I will say, if you are working with Alibaba at all, I'm going to do a video on that because I have a lot of thoughts about so many inventors that I speak to are sourcing through Alibaba, which I'm not against that at all, but I just want to give tips on how to navigate that and be able to be successful with that. But if you are sourcing a product with Alibaba, what I would say is to ask for what's called DDP pricing. And that I always forget what the acronym stands for. It's like duty, and anyway, it's your cost when it's landed all the way here, as opposed to, they'll always try to do FOB cost right on board, which is the cost to pick it up in China. But many of the suppliers and sourcing agents on Alibaba are quoting with DDP pricing. So that's, for me, if I'm doing anything in that world, that's what I would do during this time, just to take myself out of that world and playing that guessing game and trying to make it work when things are so volatile. I wish I had better advice. I mean, it's something that is just crushing so many people. It's really, really tough.
Are you entertaining any ideas about manufacturers here in this country as opposed to that?
I've been entertaining it for since I began. I would love nothing more
Right.
than to have everything made here. Then I just, for the life of me, cannot make the numbers work. I continue to try. And I have looked at Vietnam, Cambodia. Where else have I looked? And I almost have done a couple things there, but in the end, I could do a whole nother meeting on how important it is to vet your manufacturing partners. And I've been through so much with bad ones and, weeding out all of the riffraff and finally have some really solid ones that the thought of going through that again with a whole other country where I'm not familiar, it's like I just would almost rather wait it out and stick with the people that I know and that I trust and all of that.
I understand. Thank you for that. Thank you for those answers.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Also, let's see, Anthony, did you have a question for Marcy? No? Okay.
Excuse me, Thais has her hand up.
Oh, Thais?
Just a thank you. Just a thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Hi, Thais.
Hi, Laura.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Also, Marcy, thank you. Where are you? I'm on my phone. There you are.
I'm
Hi,
up
Marcy.
here.
I got to just tell everybody, not to embarrass you, but I saw Marcy at the hardware show, and she was on a panel where a pitch panel listening to different product developers and inventors pitch. And I got to tell you, this woman was so encouraging and so insightful and so helpful. So and I even took, I took notes, like I do what you do, like a lot of you do, but I still I got like a full page, like all numbered. I almost did a chart. Anyway, but my point is that, for anybody who even perked up when you talked about the goal setting and the mapping, download it. I'm going to do that because that has been such a crucial part of the success that I've been able to have, is that kind of clarity. It's like, how would I get, if I didn't know how to get, where the store was, I wouldn't be able to get there. So, just something as simple as knowing where I want to get has been so valuable. So you're awesome. Thank you for all you're doing. And there was one other thing I just really appreciated was, you have one thing I really loved, and yes, she is beautiful in person also, I can attest to that, but the joy, and I know you were wiped out and people were coming at her for all angles and you were so graceful and there's so much joy. And that you exude. And I think it's because you're so collaborative, like you're really collaborative. You have this collaborative spirit and really, anyway, you're the real deal. It's a pleasure to get to see you again so soon and hear you. And I got so much out of your talk tonight.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I know it takes a lot of energy to put this together and to get it together, to get on Zoom. And thank you so much. And Laura, thanks for putting it together.
Thank you. We're honored to have Marcy on here. And I'm so glad to get to know you, Marcy, as well. We have another question from Wayne Carroll. Let's see, Wayne, will you unmute? There you are. Hi, Wayne. Unmute yourself and go ahead and ask a question to Marcy.
So I am a patent attorney, but I honestly want to know, do you patent? And a lot of inventors are worried about going in your product development, and aren't they all going to steal it? And does that invalidate your patent process? So can you spend a minute telling me about your intellectual property protection strategy?
I can. I don't know that you're going to love it, but this is
I
just
want the truth. I really do.
Okay. Well, this is just how I feel for me. And I'm clearly not an attorney. And, I think that protection is very important at the right time for the right reason. Are you guys hearing a delay or anything?
Yeah. Let's see.
Let's see. Is it
And
me?
then by Wayne, could you mute yourself just for a minute to see if that's you? Because I think everybody else is muted. No, we have somebody else that is not muted. Please, everybody on here,
Oh, there
please
we go.
mute yourself.
I took care of them.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you, Peter.
They're
See, I can't function without Peter here.
they're muted, and I think there's a slight bandwidth issue. So if anybody's willing to turn off their video who's not speaking or presenting, that might help a little bit as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Because I was going to say I didn't hear exactly the first part of Wayne's question, but I think just in general, Wayne, is that correct that you just kind of in general want to know my thoughts on patenting and protection and all of that?
Yeah.
Okay. So the one thing I want inventors to understand, the one thing that again for me is heartbreaking, and I kind of want to scream it from the rooftops many times, is I think new inventors often make the mistake of, myself included for sure in the beginning, rushing to patent. And you just think invention, patent, like those two things just go hand in hand. And the first thing you need to do is get a patent. And so many times it's, number one, either done way too early and the invention ends up changing so much that it ends up being not, it's null and void. And so much time and money is spent on it. But more importantly, I really want inventors to understand that a patent is only as valuable as your ability to defend it. And I don't know how much people get that. And I learned that very early on because I had a mentor coach who invented the head tingler, that thing that massages your head with kind of like wire hanger that was a big fad a long time ago.
I've got one.
Okay, I think I have multiple of them. I love them. Anyway, she invented that and patented it, and sure enough got knocked off, and it ended up costing her $750,000 to defend it. Fortunately, she had made a lot of money on it to be able to do that, but it took so much time and then all of that money. And by the time that she finally did win, first of all, she didn't get to recoup her attorney fees. And by then, so many other people had knocked her off in the process, and she was so exhausted and so financially drained that she didn't go after anybody else after that. And, she talked about, had she had any idea what it would take to defend a patent, she would have never done it in the first place. And so I think a lot of times inventors can have kind of false security, a false sense of security about a patent, that's really going to protect them. Once they have it, it's ironclad. And it just takes a lot to defend it. And unfortunately, so few times does the inventor end up winning those cases because it's so easy to get around also. So I just feel like for new inventors that many times, and every circumstance is different. If you're licensing it, it's going to be more important to have a patent than if you're manufacturing it yourself. But I find that the amount of money that's spent on getting a real utility patent, it's such a big number that many times the inventor doesn't have any money left to bring the product to market. So I personally would much rather spend the money that I have on developing a kick butt marketing campaign and a great website and all those things to get it out in front of people. I always worry that inventors get caught on this hamster wheel of patenting and prototyping and engineering and just the mechanics that I talked about in the beginning, that they lose sight of the bigger picture of getting the product out there and getting it in front of the people that are going to buy it. And so that's my general thought on patenting. Now, having said that, I'm a huge believer in trademarking. Trademarking to me is, first of all, it's a lot less expensive. It takes less time. It lasts forever. It's all those kinds of things, assuming you remember to renew it. But more importantly, I believe that many times a really strong name can be much more valuable than patenting then the intellectual property behind it. And a very good example of that, and I use this a lot, is Sarah Blakely, who I spoke of earlier with Spanx. She did file a patent in the beginning, and it took every penny she had. She did not have money left after she filed that patent. To this day, she has never once defended the patent. And it's not because she didn't have the money to defend it. It's because she never had to, because she did such an amazing job coming up with a fantastic name, trademarking that name, and building a brand around it. That is the true value that Spanx, that name, that trademark name is what made Spanx a $1.2 billion company. I truly believe that, because there's 100 different, in fact, she references she's been knocked off by at least 100 different companies making products that are almost exactly like hers. But the gold standard is Spanx. And when you're going to spend money on shapewear, you want Spanx. And it's because of her brilliant job of trademarking and building a brand and coming up with some very clever advertising. So I feel like money spent there can be a lot more valuable. I also heard someone speak at the inventor of Pictionary. I heard him speak, and when he sold to Mattel, the only thing they bought was the name. So that was it. And so that was a big number for that name. And so that, shows how valuable that can be. The other thing is that many inventors and people with products don't understand is the value of the trademark at the border and how that can stop counterfeit goods from coming into the country. If you have a trademark and somebody's trying to come in with a product that looks and acts just like yours, when that trademark is registered, they will stop those goods at the border. So that can be really, really valuable as well.
Yeah, they've upped the damages to $2 million for someone who's an intermediary. So you ask any intermediaries to start, and they'll stop because they're on the hook for $2 million if they don't.
Right. Yep. Exactly. They're having a lot of success with that, which is great. It's good news for us, I think.
Very good news. Yeah, because
patent
or to not patent is a hot topic.
It is, and I do have a video on that, on trademarking versus patenting and the strengths, and it's not. I'm making it sound like I think patents are useless. That isn't what. Right. That's not the case. I don't think they're useless, but I just want to make sure that they're understood. That the cons of it are understood, because I don't think that's talked about enough. Right.
I think we all need to be aware of the pros and the cons.
Just being aware. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's part of your learning curve, doing your homework, doing your research, understanding what you're walking into. Marcy, you had mentioned Fiverr, which I've used, quite a bit too. I love it, love it, love it. One of the things too, if you all aren't aware of this, they have competitions on Fiverr. So you can, let's say one time I was trying to create a logo. And so I put out, I think it was like a couple $100, to some of these people on Fiverr, they're just getting started. They'll work very hard to win that couple $100. So they go into this competition, and then you can pick like the top 5. And then, the one that you like the most wins that $200. So that's something too to look into.
That sounds like 99 Designs. Do you know of that? That was I did one of those. That. They do. They started out doing just logos, and that's how I had my first logo created. It was a competition like that, and I thought it was so fun, and it was so neat to see everyone coming up with the different ideas. And I didn't know Fiverr did that, so that's really good to know.
Oh my goodness, there's so many resources now. There's like you said, it's a great time to be an inventor, a product developer, innovator, entrepreneur, because of, the internet has really opened the world for us. Yeah. Marcy, I have a question for you too. You had mentioned your buying team. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because I'm not sure that everybody is real familiar with that.
Sure. So at HSN, depending on the category that your product falls, they have like departments at HSN, everything from jewelry to travel to clothing and cooking and, all of that. So there are buying teams around each one of those categories. So most of my products right now at HSN fall within the travel arena. And so there's different levels to it, but there's the director of that category, then there's the lead buyer of that category, then there's the associate buyer. So usually I'll meet with them all at the same time, but sometimes if it's not as big of a decision, I can do it with the associate buyer. But they all like to, anytime I'm bringing in a whole new collection or things like that, everybody wants to be able to see that. And then within the travel category falls within a bigger category of it's also handbags, and it's what else is in there? Intimate apparel. It's kind of funky how they lay it out the way they do, but that's the way it works anyway within HSN. And then I know, there's always, whether it's Target or Bed Bath or whatever, there's usually a lead buyer for any given category, and then typically at least one or two associate buyers below them.
Wow. Okay. There's a lot to it, isn't there? My goodness.
One other thing I want to say on the buying teams is I'm always surprised at how little experience they typically have within that category. So, for instance, a new buyer just came in to my travel category, and she's never done anything. She's wonderful and has great experience with home shopping and things like that, but she's never done anything with travel. So it's really valuable for her to have somebody come in that's been in that space for a while, that understands that space, and that can kind of educate her on what's happening there and what's working and what's not. And so that whole part of the importance of all of us understanding the market that we're developing a product for, that's another one of those. I mean, it's a really great thing when you can become an indispensable partner to whoever it is that you're ultimately going to be selling, either licensing your product to or selling your product to.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And you all, I just looked also at Marcy's YouTube channel, and you have like 87 videos or so. And I was scrolling through, it's unbelievable. Great resource.
Well, on that channel, I'm kind of trying to sort through it because I started the YouTube channel not to be a YouTuber, but I started it really because I needed a place for my videos to live. I just didn't know where to put them. And so I started that, and half or more of the videos you'll see are actual my product videos or products that I love and I'm talking about videos. So it's a little confusing, but I tried to categorize it. There's Inventing 101. So that's where most of the videos live that I spoke of tonight. Then below that, I think it's mindset and motivation. And so that's the goal setting. There's one on procrastination and several under there as well. So those two categories will probably be mostly what you would want to look at.
And can you remind us again where we could find some of the PDFs that you mentioned that you have?
Yes, I want to tell you guys, I'm in the process of, because I speak, and as you saw, I'm referring to so many things all the time that I wanted to create. So I'm creating a website, and I'm actually going to launch it within about a week, I think, maybe 2 weeks. That's called the Product Success Hub. And it's free, but it's, so if you go to, in fact, you can go there now, productsuccesshub.com, and it'll just ask for your name and email, and it'll notify you when it launches. So all the things I talked about will be inside there, the videos, the PDFs, all of that. But for now, if you just went to my YouTube channel and let's say you were interested in the things I talked about with product validation. If you clicked on that product validation video, you look at the notes below, there's links to all of those things. And can I share my screen if I can find, because
Absolutely.
I do have some of the host disabled participant screen sharing. Let's see, Peter, are you allowed to let me share my screen if I can find that slide?
Yeah, Marcy, you were made co-host, so you should be able to go down below and share your screen.
Oh, let's see. Oh, I'm getting an error message. Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, well, we need to change that. And let's get you co-host. Okay, you are now a co-host. Now you can share your screen.
Oh, okay, well, this was my slideshow that I was going to show you, but I decided not to. So I just really wanted to show you down here. So there's my website, marcymckenna.com.
And we're not
And
seeing it yet.
oh, you're not. Okay, shoot. What am I doing wrong here? Go there. I'm clicking screen share.
Mhm.
Oh, there.
Then you have to put share again.
Got it.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
So, yeah, so I just wanted to show you that. So if anybody wants any of those addresses, we've got my website is marcymckenna.com, and that's where my products live, and that's being redone right now too, but you'll be able to see all of that if you wanted to see that. There's also a tab on there that says inventors, and you can click that, and that will take you to it's all the way to the right, and that will take you to the Product Success Hub, where you can sign up to be notified when that launches. But you're seeing their Product Success Hub. And then if there are female inventors on here, I think there are, I would love to invite you guys to join the Women Inventors Club. And it's just it's a Facebook group. It's not in person, but it is a wonderful group of women that are, I know we've talked about it earlier, just so supportive and so many great resources and tools and ideas, and I just love it. So I want to invite anybody to join that, as long as you are a female. Sorry, men. Product Success Hub is for you, for all of us. And then my social media channels. Are you seeing that? It's blocked for me. I don't know why. Can you see that?
Yeah, the link tr.ee.
Yes. So if you click that, you'll see everything. You'll see links to my Amazon storefront, which is where I do my Amazon Lives from, and I put all the products that I love within all the different categories that I'm interested in. And you'll see everything from the Women Inventors Club to my YouTube channel, my Instagram, my LinkedIn, all of that. So it's just kind of all the links in one place.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Sure.
And then let's see, let's stop your screen share. You need to do that, Marcy.
What do I do? Okay, got it.
Got it. And let's have everybody go back. Let's go to the gallery view. Everybody go to your gallery view. So if you go up to the top right-hand corner of your screen, you will see, you hover your mouse, you'll see view and click on gallery view. And if you all would go ahead, and Peter, if you can help, unmute yourself at this point. What we do when we're closing a meeting, and want to thank Marcy so much for all you've done, and for honoring us by being here tonight and taking your time. We really learned a lot. So if everybody would just unmute yourself, put your hands together, and let's give Marcy a big
I'm filming you people. That's so cute.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was really
Thank you,
fun.
Marcy.
You're welcome.
Marcy, again, thank you. This has just been phenomenal, and we just love you. We just love you.
I'm so glad. Well, I want to come back when it's in person, so I have a reason to go to Arizona.
Oh, you got it. All right. Yes. Okay. Great. Okay. Thank you very much.
Good night.
You're welcome. Thank you all for being here.
All right.
Good night.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.